So, hello everyone, and welcome to our practice and discussion of the Buddha's teachings on cultivating cultivating awareness, cultivating a strong, stable, clear awareness with which to go through our lives. And it's a great pleasure to do this. It's a wonderful thing. And I find that the path to that, every step along the way, is wonderful. And then we come to this exercise in the Satipatthana Sutta, which some people skip over, some people are perplexed by, and some people don't like. And that is that of the meditating on the parts of the body. And I want to orient ourselves around this, or kind of present an idea from the early texts that might be helpful. Though at first people often don't like this. So the idea is that first to say that the use of what we call imagination is included as part of, maybe a small part, a part of the path of meditation and the teachings of the Buddha. It's very simple acts of imagination, but in doing so, he distinguishes between uses of the imagination that involve delusion, that are fantasy, that are have no real connection to reality, and for those maybe we can use the word concocting. The word sometimes is translated into English as conceiving, and so giving birth to concoctions, to just imaginary ideas, and manyati, and then those which are understood to be metaphors, similes, and very simple acts of imagination, of visualization, of reflection that point us in the direction of being present, support us to let go of our preoccupations, let go of those which the imagination that helps us to let go of imagination. The imagination lets us let go of being caught. And so imagine, maybe you bring to mind some part of your body, maybe something is not too challenging for you, that the body image of it is a concern for you. Maybe it's something as simple, maybe it's, I hope it's simple, but for example, your fingernails. Maybe they're too long today. There are times you don't get around to cutting them and they're kind of longer than you think they should be. And so you're concerned about the image of your fingers and your fingernails and what people think about you, and you go into a very important meeting and you haven't had a chance to cut your fingernails, let alone clean them, and there's still dirt in them from working in the garden. Or maybe something a little bit more challenging, and maybe you have concerns about the length of your fingers. They're too short, they're too long, or maybe they're too stubby or fat or something. And you feel embarrassed, don't want to show it to people. You keep your hands in your pockets so people don't notice. And so it's a concern with body image. So something like that. Now imagine that you do something really wonderful. Maybe it's a wonderful hike in nature. Maybe it's a wonderful exercise. Maybe it's you feel really refreshed and kind of wonderful and clean after a shower, or a deep satisfaction maybe after sex, or something that maybe you've worked hard, physical work, manual work, and you feel so contented and a little bit sore, but so contented and happy in your body. There's kind of a vitality in the body. And imagine yourself sitting down and maybe closing your eyes in a nice, comfortable chair, and just feeling the vitality, the surging of energy, the working and tingling of the muscles, and that feels pleasant and nice, a deep satisfaction that feels embodied after doing this physical thing. The deep physical contentment, a job well done, a situation well experienced, very contented. And now, with that kind of contentment, think about your fingernails being too long, or your fingers being too this or too that. And notice how it takes you into a world of thoughts, ideas, concepts, concoctions that, takes you away from the coursing of good feelings, satisfaction, contentment in your body. And so feeling kind of the alienation, certain kind of alienation from an embodied, wonderful feeling of oneself in one's body, in one's skin, by going into the world of thoughts and comparative thinking and ideas of what's ideal and not ideal, how things should be and shouldn't be. These are two radically different worlds of relating to the body. And so the parts of the body exercise is one that recognizes that one is not so satisfying, one is not so helpful to be in. And if we get caught in the world of concocting and comparisons, then sometimes we need some help to be able to come back into the lived body where we fit perfectly inside our skin, where the experience of the fingers, for the fingernails for themselves, in and of themselves, the fingers don't care if they're short or long or stubby. The fingers just are. And in fact, if we just settle into the sensations in the fingers, unless you have arthritis or something, that the sensations of the fingers just tingles and feels nice, and they're totally happy. Whatever the fingers are, don't mind what length or size they are. Fingernails don't mind if they're haven't been cut for a while maybe, or a little dirty. So there's a different kind of way to live. And so these 31 parts of the body are sometimes called unclean. And the later tradition titles this exercise the repulsive, that they talk about the repulsive, these parts of the body. But the tradition, I'll talk more about it later, is not making a categorical judgment about the body. It's rather making a judgment about the way we get into the concocting world of attachments around the body. That is what is, in the ancient world, unclean. In our world, we might use other language. We might use that, say it's suffering, it's stressful. We might say that it's alienating, it takes us away, it makes us separate from our experience, from our body. We have maybe use different language than the ancients do, but the movement in the same direction, away from the secondary judgments about the body, seeing that as a problem. That's what's unclean in a sense, and settling in for the body's experience of itself. So, assuming a meditation posture, and close your eyes and just feel your breathing, feel your body. Feel what's happening in your body from me talking and you listening. What energies are coursing through your body? What sensations? What tensions are in your body? And are there thoughts, ideas, concoctions in the mind that keep you at a distance from feeling the body in and of itself? Maybe you can relax the thinking mind, calm the thinking a bit, calm your activity, to feel and sense the experience of your body from the inside out. And this difference between what's concocted and what's felt and experienced. applies to the breathing. Whether the breathing is comfortable or uncomfortable, let the breathing be the breathing, independent of thoughts, ideas, judgments, expectations. As if each breath is just what it's supposed to be. Each inhale, each exhale. With a relaxing into your breathing. Perhaps as you exhale, relaxing the shoulders and belly. And then feel or imagine yourself physically content. If you felt deeply satisfied and contented in your body, where would that contentment and satisfaction reside? Independent of what you think, what is the body's own experience of that contentment and that vitality or sense of whatever is happening in the body is enough, it's just right for itself. What energy, tingling, vibrations, sensations would you allow yourself to feel? If this embodied experience at this moment was just right, just the thing that's supposed to be happening, whether comfortable or uncomfortable, maybe as you breathe, you can feel your skin of your torso, your chest, your belly stretch or move on the inhale, settle back on the exhale. Maybe your Skin pushes against your clothes as you breathe. Feeling your skin. Letting the skin have its own experience, independent of what you think. Just skin feeling. And whatever is inside your skin fits perfectly within your skin like a good pair of shoes or a good pair of well-fitting clothes. And with inside your skin, there's your flesh. Maybe it also moves in the belly or elsewhere in your body as you breathe. Breathing with the fleshes, how the flesh, the muscles, how it feels itself, how its own experience sitting here. And then deeper than the flesh is the bones. The structure which holds all the flesh. Some of the bones move as you breathe, the rib cage, maybe in the shoulders or the spine. We can have thoughts and ideas about our bones. But what would we like to feel or sense or imagine the bones, how the bones experience themselves? Or feeling, knowing your bones without those thoughts, judgments, fears, just bones. And so freeing yourself from body images you might live by, gently breathe with the experience of skin. Breathe with the experience of flesh. Breathe with the experience of bones. Letting each have its own experience, free of judgments, thoughts, ideas. Letting each one help free you from a kind of alienation from the body that the world of self-image and bodily perfection might do for you. Sitting here content and peaceful with the body as it is, skin, flesh, bones. As we come to this end of this sitting, imagine that you're comfortable in your skin. Imagine that your body is at home in itself. Your body is perfect the way it is. And the body has the opportunity, has the capacity to feel itself, be at home in itself, independent of the stories and thoughts and ideas and predictions you have about your body. Even if the body is uncomfortable, maybe there's a way in which you can still be at home in your body, at home in your skin, in your flesh, in your bones. Or at home in some deeper embodied way. And now imagine that when you look upon other people, you don't look upon them based on their attractiveness or your judgments or ideas of how their body appears, but rather you look upon others as kind of an act of imagination. You look upon others how they would be if they were at home in their own body, as if their body is perfect, no problems. If they were at home in their own skin, comfortable in their skin and their flesh and their bones. Imagine looking upon people that way. How nice it would be if they could be comfortable in their own body. Putting aside your ideas of attractiveness or your orientation towards what might be unusual about their body, your judgments, the stories you make up. And how wonderful it would be if everyone could feel comfortable in their own body. If everyone can have some deep acceptance of their body, free of the cultural conditioning, ideas and thoughts, the social comparisons that are made, all the painful ways in which we relate to people's bodies and skin and objectifying people. Imagine how great it would be if all the people you know and all the people you meet could feel at home, happy in their body, safe in their body, at peace in their body, a freedom, embodied freedom. May it be that how we look upon others, how we regard others, may we regard others kindly, caringly. May we regard others seeing them in ways that support them feeling at home in themselves, comfortable in themselves, in their own body. May all beings live happily in their bodies. May all beings feel safe in their bodies. May all beings feel peaceful in their own bodies. And may all beings be free with an embodied freedom. And may the way that we regard others support this as possible. So today's, this will be the last talk on this fourth exercise of this Satipatthana Sutta. And it is I think it's easy to overlook this part. It's easy to, which I did for many years. It's easy to be dismissive of it, especially for a Western audience, because it has such, it refers to the body as parts as unclean, and it's not in the original text, but the later editors added a title for this exercise that refers to the repulsiveness of the body. And that's even, I mean, many people in the West even more reactive to that. Why would you see the body as repulsive or unclean? And perhaps I shouldn't try to guess at what the ancients were doing and thinking when they had this. But I do know that the Buddha sometimes talks about uh, uh, the our bodily form, our bodily feelings, our perceptions, our mental activity and concoctions, creations, and something that we often call consciousness in the West. That he has this sometimes very negative language for it. And sometimes he says it's impermanent, it's empty, it's vain, it's a tumor, it's an illness, it's a burden. It's it just kind of has a long list of things which are very kind of negative. And if you read it out of context, it's like, wow, these Buddhists are completely world negating and opposed to the body and all this, and treat the body as some kind of as a boil, a blister, something just a sore. And but the context of teaching this teachings about how, you know, these things are sickness or an illness or something like that. It uses the word as if, and it's a particular context to use it. And the context is deep, some of the deepest sense of well-being, happiness and joy that can be experienced in meditation. The joy of deeply being absorbed and concentrated that comes with deep concentrated meditation. And for some people, this is the highest, like the pinnacle of joy and happiness that they've ever experienced in their life, and in a sustained way, is when they drop into these deep concentrated states. And in that context, where there's so much well-being and happiness, then be careful then not to be attached to the body and to perceptions and feelings, even consciousness. Any attachments, any preoccupation, any fixation on them, in that context, just feels like a drag. Feels like, now why would I agitate or muddy or lose this deep sense of well-being that the whole body feels like it's beautiful and glowing and alive and settled, and finally I'm at home in my body and it just like seems like a wellspring of well-being. Why would I separate myself into the world of concoctions, the world of stories and ideas and shoulds and shouldn'ts, even ones that are celebrating the body, when the celebration of the body is also a separation from it all. And so in that context, the Buddha said, if all this well-being, relate to these parts of these areas as if they're a drag, so that you can stay connected. And I think so you don't get attached to it, so you can stay connected to this well-being that is onward leading and leads to liberation from all attachments. So, this is, so in terms of these 31 parts of the body, in this fourth exercise, where it talks about being unclean, I interpret it in that way, that it's in a context of developing greater and greater well-being and happiness and being at home in one's body, feeling comfortable in one's skin, and just settling in and experiencing it independent of the concoctions, the stories, the interpretations, the opinions we have. And it feels so good to do that why get involved in the opinions? Why get involved in all these things? And so when is it that it's helpful to be in being present for the body, to really see that there are certain ways of relating to the body that are undesirable, maybe unclean because it kind of mires or dirties the waters of attention and our experience. And so as we kind of do this as we get into the 31 parts of the body, then more and more we're beginning to free ourselves from the concoctions. We're using our imagination a little bit, to visualization and inner sense and focus, if you do the practice steadily, on 31, systematically going through each body part. But you're developing greater and greater embodiment, presence in the body, and a greater sensitivity to the way that the mind concocts, the mind makes stories and ideas, and how we could let go of that and just stay with the body. And this is phenomenally useful as the Satipatthana Sutta keeps going deeper and deeper into the basic practice of just mindfulness of body, feelings, mind, and dhammas, that we're beginning to help loosen up the grip of stories, ideas, and some of them are very connected to the body. So this is one of the functions of this 32 parts of the body, is to free us from that grip, but also to begin appreciating and increasing sensitivity to the concocting nature of the mind, the story making of the mind. Because as we go deeper and deeper in the Satipatthana practice, we're becoming freer and freer of this concocting nature of the mind. But we'll see, though, that when we start tomorrow on the 4 elements, we're still using the imagination to some degree for that. And so we're still learning these lessons. Tomorrow we'll do the 4 elements. Start there, the 5th exercise. And the core, the original, the Vipassana instructions, the mindful instruction, which much of the Western Vipassana movement is based on, the insight movement that comes out of Jack and Joseph and Sharon, and came from those of us who went to Asia to study something called a particular form of Vipassana practice called Mahasi practice. It's named after the teacher Mahasi Sayadaw. And his practice was really centered on the 4 elements. And he wasn't explicit about it always, and it wasn't conveyed to the Western practitioners, but the foundation of the modern Western whole experience of mindfulness-based stress reduction and teachings of Spirit Rock and IMS and all that, it was this 4 elements meditation. So it has the pedigree or the lineage we're in is one that really centers on this. And so we'll start talking about that tomorrow. And one thing about the last thing about the 31 parts of the body meditation, there's a wonderful teacher, Vipassana teacher in Santa Cruz named Bob Stahl. And every year he does almost a year-long course on the 32 parts of the body meditation. And it's very popular in people in Santa Cruz. So I say that many of you are not close to Santa Cruz, but that there is people who do this practice find a great love for it. And maybe you'll try it out. Memorize the list, and or some of the list. Usually people memorize them in groups of 5 or 6, and then just practice it like the way we did today with skin, flesh, bones, but using the different parts. So a couple of little announcements is that today I posted it in YouTube. If you're on YouTube, under the video, there's in the description of the text, there's the text for this 31 parts of the body, and also there's a link we'll keep in there to go directly to IMC's the page on IMC's website where we have my translation of the Satipatthana Sutta. And so as we go through this, you want to see the kind of, the reference point I'm using for this and kind of my understanding of this text. In the translation, you can find that translation there. And you can also find it under the resource menu in IMC's website as well directly. So thank you. And I look forward to starting the 4 elements tomorrow.